Hi everybody, all my followers, be welcome to another video. Right, where's the key? It's here. Right guys, so this video is another video on the X5. Now, let me take you through a little bit of the story, and I know some of you don't have the patience for the stories. But basically guys, you might have seen this video here for the headlights, or headlight. And at the time guys, while I was recording that video, I've actually mentioned the issue, or a slightly issue with the cluster. If you watch the video now, or if you already watched it, you actually are probably thinking, I can't recall that. No, because I've actually cut all the bits where I actually mentioned the cluster, which if you watch the video, there's some abrupt cuts on the video because I had to do it. Purely because I was not to record this video. At least I was not at the time, because I didn't know I would have to get this far. I'm not going to take you through the whole story why we are doing this. Title or thumbnail probably gives you a clue. So I'm not going to take you through the whole story why he actually needs a cluster replacement. But basically this cluster, which is the original cluster, is dead. So, and when I say dead, I actually mean dead. So I'm going to show the cluster is already kind of pulled out. As you can see, I already had it out. I checked inside of it. I can't see nothing damaged on it. There is powers, grounds, which I'll show you in a second. Well, I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to show you the replacement screen or cluster. But yeah, so this cluster is dead, and I'm going to show you that when I turn the key on. What I wanted to look at is that only this airbag light and this warning light with this exclamation mark comes on. So I'm going to show you. Oh, airbag light did not even came on. Let me try again, because sometimes it comes on. It's not even. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the only light that comes on the screen. I can tell you that temperature gauge is working, RPMs are working. That works, and fuel gauge works. However, there is pretty much no fuel on this car, as usual, and the warning light for the fuel level low does not come on, along with all these lights at the bottom, all these warning lights here, along with these here at the top. I think there is only two. There's no DTC light, but there is these two here for the flat tire and DSC, I think. But as you can see, I'm going to turn on the light. I'm going to switch the key again. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, that's it. The panel is completely dead. So key is on at the moment. If I turn signals, for example, the signals are actually working. I can tell you they do work. But as you can see, the cluster doesn't show nothing. If I turn the lights on, I get the background light, as you can see probably. But if I, for example, now do, for example, if I flicker the I-beams, as you can see, they work. But in there, it doesn't show nothing. So the panel is completely dead. So this video, guys, is going to be purely about how you replace a cluster on one of these cars. I forgot to mention the car. This is a 2005 X5 E53. This is the facelift, being the 2005 is the facelift model. But it's going to be very similar for the older models, although you might have a different EEPROM on the cluster, but we'll get to that later. So I'm going to show you the replacement cluster, that it works. Unfortunately, the miles, as you can imagine, are wrong. This car has 130,000 miles, and this cluster I bought is about 170, somewhere around there. That's why I was told. Well, that's what the eBay showed. So obviously, as you might know, this came from another garage. They bought me the screen, and I got the screen today. And I believe the cluster has 170,000 miles. We're going to plug it in just to show you it's working, and then we're going to do the work we need to do on the cluster before we actually program the cluster to the car. So we're going to have the red dot for the mileage and all that good stuff, but stay there, I'll show you in a second. Okay, and we have now the replacement cluster fitted. So let's going to turn the ignition on. And as you can see, this is what it should do. So there we go. So my red dot for the mileage, which stays there, showing the mileage are being tampered with, or they don't match the rest of the car. And as you can see, it's actually 174,088. I know for a fact the car has, as you can see now, we have the fuel gauge low, the light, the battery light and all that good stuff. We have the 4x4. Yeah, everything is working now, as you can see. Yeah, so we're gonna have to do some work before. Well, I could program the cluster now, etc, etc, but it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna have to open this cluster in order to get the mileage corrected, and I will explain you when we are at the bench exactly what we are going to do. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to open the cluster. It's not too tricky, but there is a few things you need to look for. The trickiest part is yet to come, but I will show you when we get there. But basically what you have, so it's already open, as you can see. So I'm actually going to, but I'll explain you. So what you need to do is, you have a few tabs around that you're going to have to obviously press in order to open it. Then you have these little latches here on the side. See these little latches here that you need to pry like this and push it up. But at the same time, you need to do it all the way around. But at the same time you do it, let me show you here. At the same time you do that, you need to twist these little, well, these kind of little things with this cross. You need to twist them because they're gonna come. Let me show you this. They're gonna come through these holes in there, right? And when they get through the hole, they twist and they lock in place. As soon as that gets through these here, they come twisted, and when they get there, they twist when they get through and they lock in place. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that you need to obviously twist. The way I do it is I start on one side. As soon as I force the LEAB and I start to do the tabs, I start to twist this, start with this one, and as you do, it just starts to slowly coming out and you get it out like that. Anyway, so this is, let me put this, oops. So let me put this where, I want to put it like that so it doesn't get dust on it. Okay, like this. So now, what we need to do, now, why am I open the cluster, guys? Because we're going to have to get the mileage right. I'm not going to change the mileage to the mileage of the car, 130,000. All I'm going to do is I'm going to set the cluster to 0 miles. And once we plug it in, the cluster will transfer the miles from the light module and will adjust to the mileage of the car. Light module and EWS immobilizer module, they have the correct mileage, so the cluster will pull the mileage from those modules. I believe it pulls it from the light module, to be honest, and it updates the mileage as far as the mileage is at 0. And that should get rid of the red dot, but although I think the red dot will not go away until we get the VIN number right, so that will be at a later stage, but I will take you through anyway. Now the tricky part here, guys, is to remove the needles, because these needles, they have this exposed spring behind on the little shaft behind this on the underside, and if you just pull the needle out, the needle will come with the shaft and it's going to smash that spring. I'll show you when we get there. But before we even get to that, we're going to have to take the rear back, the back of this, the cluster. And for that, we have these screws. I think there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. 8 screws. And then I think there is 2 tabs here. There we go. There's 2 little tabs that you're going to have to open right here. Right? One here, one here. And that should allow the rear of the cluster to separate from this, and then we'll proceed to do that because we're going to have to hold these shafts on the other side, but I'll take you through when we get there. Okay, so this second part now is removed, as you can see. There is only a little trick that you need to do. As I said to you, there is 2 tabs here at the back, as you can see in there. There's one and that one, so you need to force it to come out from here and from here, but and this is the tricky part, at the same time you need to, let me turn this around, you need to press these little tabs here. You see these little tabs here? See, there's one on each side and there is 4 on each one of them. So you need to press these tabs from the other side. So what I do is I put a finger here, pushing it in the middle, and then I go with this tiny spatula and I go like this and I press one, the other, and you keep pressing it until you release. and then as it starts to come out from this side, you go on the other side, and you need to do the same on these 8 tabs here as well. Once you do this and they unlatch or unlock, pretty much it slides out straight away. So now we're going to move into remove the needles, which there is a little bit of a tricky to do that, so we don't damage the cluster, and I'll show you that on the other bench. Okay, so I'm ready now to pull the needles out, but I'm going to explain you what you need to be looking for, and I'm going to explain you why you can't just pull the needles as you normally do. I normally, on the other side, I just use these tweezers. Some people use a fork, whatever. I use these tweezers like this. So I put a little bit of cloth on top of the front panel, and then I put this under the needle, and I pull it like this, and this just pulls the needle out. Now the problem with these clusters is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Let's see if the camera, can you see that copper? There we go, focus in there. Can you see that spring in there? Right, if you just pull the needle, the actually shaft will come out from the stepper motor, so the needle will pull everything with it, and as you pull everything with it, it's going to pull that spring through the hole on the PCB, and it's going to smash the spring. Once you do that, that's a bye-bye to this, because the spring is what keeps the needles to come back to the rest position. There is no, this stepper motor only pulls the needle one way, so when it needs to come back down, what it does is it just depowers the stepper motor, and the spring will slowly brings the needle back down, and that's what that spring does. So what we need to do is going to put something in there. Now you can buy these screwdrivers, but my one is actually broken. As you can see, one side is broken. So what I've done is I've done on a small and the focus, come on. What I've done is I grabbed focus a small screwdriver, and you just do this opening at the end of it, and what you do now is you're going to put this screwdriver between the spring and the PCB. Between, now the spring is holded on a little bit of kind of a collar and around the shaft, and that collar is quite tight, so all you do is we hold that in there, and then on the other side we'll pull the needle, and we'll pull the needle without allowing the shaft to move. So that's how we do it. I'm not going to record that. It's a little bit of a fiddling job. Even if I try to record something, I'm not going to be able to be showing you this close up. So, but I hope you get the picture. What you need to do is hold the shaft between the PCB and that collar that holds the spring, and then you pull the needle on the other side. We need to do that on every single one of them, except this one here. This one here is slightly different. We will get away without having to hold anything, because there is actually a gear. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. You can see that gear there. So that gear is actually what holds the needle, and you get away without, and because the gear is after the spring, you can actually pull it without damaging. Other than that, all the other ones we're going to have to hold it using this tool. So I'm going to take the needles, take the front fascia off the cluster, because we need we need to do this in order to get to the EEPROM. Okay guys, and finally the front fascia is out. It actually took me a little bit longer. The technique with the screwdriver kind of didn't work, because the shaft was just sliding all the way through. Actually it was still pulling through that collar, so I had to actually grind these pliers to make them like this. Okay, so I could actually get it in between, just like the screwdriver, but I could actually clamp the shaft, so I could then pull the needles out. A little bit fiddling, took me about an hour, maybe a little bit less, to take them off, but they are now out. The EEPROM on these guys lives right here. I'm going to show you. That's my EEPROM, and that's a M35080. So yes, it needs, or it is one of those with the incremental bytes, incremental first 32 bytes, as I've showed you on this video here. Is basically a chip from the same family, but in this case I do believe EEPROM, or my EEPROM, if you remember on that video, I actually told you that my EEPROM was too old for that chip. It was a slightly different chip. But this is from the same family, same principle. First 32 bytes are incremental bytes. You can't just write on them with normal tools, let's say. And yeah, so that's what it is. My EEPROM, I believe, is capable of doing this particular chip, so we're going to do that. I could, for you guys that might be wondering, I could probably just remove the chip from the other cluster and put it on this one, and that will transfer mileage and all that good stuff. That will take me through open the other cluster, which is a little bit of work, unless I was not bothered and I would just smash the crap out of it to get to the chip if I was not planning to utilize the cluster. But you never know if I need parts from that cluster one day in the future, so I don't want to do that. In case as well, if the owner wants the cluster back, obviously I'm not going to give the cluster back in bits. So to avoid me from going through all this work to get to the original EEPROM, and because also in my case, guys, this is actually the same part number, same hardware number, and same software number, unless this cluster has been updated since he left the factory. Otherwise, it's the same software as I have on the original cluster, so that would not be a problem for me to just replace the chip or swap the chips. However, if you have a different hardware or a different software number, even though the cluster most likely will be compatible and it will work perfectly, you can't just swap the EEPROMs like that, because it can give you issues. So it's always better to leave the same software and the same software basically to work properly with the rest of the cluster, and just have it coded to the car, and obviously do this little bit that we are doing now just to correct the mileage. So yeah, so my next step is going to be remove that chip. I'm not going to take you through. I've showed you many times how it's done. So we're going to scrape that glue, resin, wherever that is, clean everything around, remove the chip. Then I'll take you through once we get to EEPROM. Okay guys, just a quick to show you. Chip is removed. Sorry guys, the phone is on charge, so I can't really move it. But oh crap, chip is here. Okay, we're gonna finish cleaning the chip, but the area is there. Just so we know the orientation, I already explained this on the back video. So the chip goes there and the letters are facing. So I'm gonna put somewhere here 35080. So that's how the letters face. So you face like normal way, so we know how it goes in. We're gonna have to still clean this a little bit, put a little bit of flux, clean all this old solder, clean the chip, and yeah, and then put it back on really. So let's gonna do it. Okay, so the chip is drying. I had to put a little bit of alcohol to clean it. It's under the microscope, just so we be 100% sure that we are talking about the right chip. It's not very visible. Let's see if it sees any better when it dries out. So I think that's the ST, I think it is. I think this is the 35080. I think it's upside down. Let me turn it around. And there it is. 35080. 6, I believe this is the version 6. But 35 is an ST. So that's it, that's the correct chip. Let's gonna put on EEPROM and try to read it. Okay, so let's go. Close this down. Gonna open EEPROM. You need power to it first as well. Right, so let's gonna open a new file. So oh, he's already here. I think the last time, first time I'm using the this computer to work on. Last time I worked on this was on my other house, probably still from the other video. Oh dear. Okay, so the device is correct, M35080. So let's gonna try to read the chip, see if we have a good contact. No, we didn't, because it came back completely empty. So it didn't read properly. Let's gonna give it a few cleans to make sure until we get a read. Okay, let's try this again. There it is. Now is a good read, so I can see the miles, I can see the VIN number. Yeah, so that's the correct data. So now we're gonna save this file first, because before I edit the file. So we are going to save this. So let's file, save as. So I'm gonna put replace replacement, I'm dyslexic today, replacement cluster X570K. Okay, so let's gonna save this. Okay, now I'm going to edit this, and all we do, guys, is fill these buffers here. Alright, is save this, is fill this, fill buffer with all zeros. Okay, no, that's wrong, I want zeros, not F's. Fill buffer code, that's better. So all zeros, that's what we do. Now I'm gonna file, save as, replacement cluster, and I'm gonna put space. I'm gonna actually write 0 miles. Okay, now we're gonna save it. Okay, now we are gonna have to erase this device. Actually, hold on, let me open a new here. I'm gonna read this, all my data, 22, blah 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 blah, as you can see right at the top. Now we're gonna erase this chip. There it is. Now if I read it again, it should come out blank. There it is, all blank. Okay, no data whatsoever. Okay, now I'm gonna grab that file with the 0 miles, if you remember, right there, 0 miles, and we're gonna write this back into the chip. Now I'm gonna go to this blank file that we read when we erased the chip. I'm gonna read it again, and it should come up with all my data down here for the coding and all that stuff, and it should still say zeros at the top. It's gonna read. There it is. So all zeros the first 32 bytes, as you can see, and then all my data is normal, blah 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 blah. Okay, so now all we need to do is put the chip back into the board, into the cluster, assemble the cluster back, and we should be ready to go. Okay, so the cluster is now kind of in place. I just put the back of it, I haven't put the front yet, but we're gonna try. So now when I turn the ignition on, if you remember before, the cluster was showing 171,000, whatever that was, and now it should show 130, I think it is. So let's gonna turn ignition on. So moment of the truth. So it's showing 0 miles at the moment. Is it gonna adjust or not? Come on. Oh, come on. Really? Why is it showing 0 miles? You should adjust the miles. Oh. Come on, babe. Can you adjust or not? Let me see if I can adjust the miles now with PA Soft. See if it allows me to do since he's reading 0. Ah, damn it! I should have put the right miles in. That's it. I hope I don't need to take these off again because oh dear. Right. Anyway, let's gonna see if PA Soft does this, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I really hope that's the problem. We're going to, obviously it's gonna, PA Soft now is gonna come up with a few discrepancies between the light module, and there we go. So there we go, 0 kilometers is 280 on there. That's correct, but my SA is wrong, obviously. So let's gonna do Everything else is the same. So let's gonna do one thing first. Let's gonna close this, and let's gonna go to my cluster. Let's gonna change the VIN number. So there it is. So the VIN number is wrong. So let me go back. Actually, let me check what the VIN number is on this. So it's LX 16326. LX, so 16326. 16326. 16326. Was that, wasn't it? Oh, come on. One 6326. 16326. 16326. That's gonna go there. 16326. So is LX 16326. 26. Okay, so that should change in there. I know it's not very good, but that should change once it's done. Okay, and that's what I thought. So as soon as he rebooted, the mileage corrected and the dot just went away. Right, so that's done. Now I'm gonna do, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do a quick swipe. Okay, so this VIN number is done. So when I now, so that should still show 0. But now when I come here, if I exit and I do again, it should show my correct mileage now. There we go, 209, blah, 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 blah. So that's done. So the only thing left now is to code the cluster. To code the cluster, this, you will do it. But obviously the problem with this, can I do it with this? Let me have a look if, alright, let me see if I can do that. I never done coding with this. I know if I put the maxes, that will do the coding straight away. So if I come here now, if I do car ident again, what you're going to see is now EWS 280. That's wrong in there. That shouldn't be like that. So the EWS is incorrect. So it looks like the mileage on the EWS is higher than the mileage on the actually LCM, because I'm pretty sure the cluster will take the mileage from the LCM. So that means so 209, so that's correct. Oh no, I don't want to close it. So that means this car already had mileage removed. Yeah, 280. So the EWS shows higher mileage than the rest of it. Can I go back with, well, the last MOT, the car failed on the last MOT with what says on the cluster now, 130. And then if I can change the mileage on this. AWS programming, no, you can't. I mean, I probably can, but not like, this is the coding data. Yeah, no, I can't do it. So I'm gonna leave it. The cluster is showing the right mileage. Now let's gonna see then if I can do the coding data. I don't know if I can, come on. Read coding data, check control message, light coding, close. Let's see, reprogramming. Nah. Probably, I would say, there is a way to do it PA Soft. I'm not going to waste too much time here. I've saved the coding data from the original module, but the problem with the coding data on the original module is that that data, obviously the software, the hardware and software on this cluster is actually the same as the original, but I'm a little bit, I mean, it could be certain difference. I just don't want to put the coding on this cluster. I could always code it again. I don't want to put the coding on this cluster from the old cluster, just in case if there's any difference, and then it's going to cause issues. So what we're going to do is just quickly I could do these with the NCS Expert as well. Not really rocket science, not a problem at all. But what we're going to do, actually I might do it, why not? I'll do it with the Maxi 6, why not? Plug in the Maxi 6, just do a quick coding on this and we should be good to go. Okay, so let's gonna quickly do it. So main menu, programming, you come up with this information about the car, just press OK. The programming on these older modules, it is not as in-depth as it is on the newer modules. I have videos already showed you for that. Here is a little bit more basic, but still it will do the job. So we'll just gonna let it to do its thing. Okay, so once it goes through all the modules, you land here. Just bear in mind I have the battery with the power supply on it, connected to the car. So it's just going to go to coding. It's quite simple, you can't do a lot with it. We're going to go to control unit list. I just want to code 1, and we're going to go to my instruments. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that's it. And now we let it to run this thing, and once it's done, it should be coded. Okay, the cluster just restarted, coded with 3 faults. We're going to do a quick erase. Obviously you might get faults from, there we go, obviously because of the reboot. So that's all done. Now we're gonna go for a drive, because, so let me just cycle the ignition, because I think we need to get it, yeah, because of that 4x4, which will not go away unless we drive it. So we're gonna go just for a quick drive at the end of the road and come back, and that will be the job done. Before we go, so you can see now this time when we scanned with the PA soft, as you can see, all that is now black, so which means it's okay. The only thing that comes with the discrepancy is the miles, because the EWS has a higher mileage than the LCM. I can't do nothing because the LCM shows the same mileage as that, or 130,000 miles, and that's the mileage that the car failed his MOT just a couple months back. And the car, I believe, has been off-road ever since, I don't know. But yes, he failed at 130,000 miles, so that's the miles that is recorded. If the car has been clocked back, that was a long time ago by someone else. I could have checked, well, he must have been. If I open that, the original cluster, I'm pretty sure I'm going to find that chip has been already touched. So, yeah, that's what it is. So now, as I said, we're going to go for a quick drive, even because we don't have much fuel. So we're just going to go for a quick drive and make sure that 4x4 DSC light goes off. Once it goes off, that's it, job done. Okay, so let's gonna go. I don't know how quick this light will go off, but we will try. Okay, so let's gonna still on. It's gonna go. Okay, so let me get into the main road. Okay, so let me drive up to the main road and then see if the light goes off. Okay, all done. I ended up having to actually do a steering wheel alignment, turning the steering left to right, driving it. It didn't make a difference. I really had to go through the diagnostics and do a alignment. As soon as I did, the light went off. Also, you might have seen on the clips, on the last clip, that the RPMs were wrong. When I went for a quick drive, I've actually also noticed the speedometer was also wrong, along with the miles per gallon, the live reading there, that consumption was also wrong. So I ended up having to open the cluster again to put the needles correct. Now, as you can see, it's all done, all quick, all good, all working fine. and that's it for this video, guys. So this is how you replace a cluster on a E53. This applies for the E39s, I think, all the and I believe even the E46 as well, maybe. So all the cars from this era is pretty much the same procedure. So there is some clusters that have different EEPROMs. If they do have different EEPROMs, you might be able to actually, I could have correct the mileage using PASoft, that software, but because of the type of chip in this particular one, I couldn't do it. I believe there's older clusters on this car, but older clusters with, I believe some of them they have the 9566 or 9366 EEPROM, that you don't need to even take the cluster out. You can do everything, or dismantle the cluster. You can do everything with, if you have the tools, PASoft, and again, it will do it. So yeah, anyway, guys, that's not really important right now. The important is we did the job, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Hope there's some information here you guys have found useful. Hope you learned something, maybe. If you do still have any questions, any comments, guys, you know, put them below. And like always, thanks for watching.